Wyoming Public School Superintendent Thomas Reeder told me last night that the bus stop had been moved last year once the district learned that a sex offender lived at the home that it's in front of. But we went to check it out today, both before and after school. The stop hadn't been moved. If this isn't resolved by tomorrow morning, are you going to bring her tomorrow?
No, I'll drop her off or I'll bring her down that way. I will not bring her back to this area.
It's just the possibility of what could happen that's the most frightening for Renee Sivens. She and her young family moved to this neighborhood right before the start of school, but it was only today, week 2, that she learned her 6-year-old's bus stop is in front of the house of 2 registered sex offenders, both convicted of sex crimes against children, and that the district has known that fact since last school year.
The people who lived at the house, the sex offenders themselves, actually called the district and said, "We want you to move the bus stop."
Then there's no reason that bus stop should be there at all. The bus stop should have been moved a long time ago.
That's right. I spoke off camera to one of the men who lives here. He told us he called the district last year to try to get the stop moved someplace else, but that never happened. We were told something different last night.
So we moved the bus stop, and we moved it down about 50 yards, I believe it is, and it's near a corner, and we've been picking up since then.
So we checked both before school and after, and this is what we saw. The bus stopping in the same place. We took that new information to the superintendent.
It's so unfair. It's really unfair.
How is it unfair?
Why don't you put that on there? It's so unfair the way we're treated.
After that initial conversation, Target 8 called Reeder, giving him another opportunity to talk, and he met us outside, vowing things will be different tomorrow morning.
I apologize to our parents. I mean, this should have already been done, but that's the job of a superintendent. I did not do my job.
Reeder tells us he does plan to proactively address this issue in the future, saying his transportation department will match sex offender addresses against bus stops rather than waiting for someone to call them asking for a move. We've been talking with a meteorologist from the National Weather Service all day. He's been going around and looking at all of this damage to see if it's done by a tornado or done by straight lines. And you can see this actually used to be the roof of this house right here. When we were talking to that meteorologist today, he says that it appears that the tornado activity started right about here and that this house is the worst of the damage that he's seen today. Huge trees snapped like matchsticks, siding peeled off of homes. Some piles of rubble are so destroyed, you actually have to ask what they used to be.
There used to be a barn with a hay mow.
But with everyone we spoke to, each looked to the bright side.
You look at the neighbors' houses and they're, I was fortunate, I don't have a whole lot of damage to my house, just, the barn went.
The National Weather Service uses the damage as clues. The huge pieces of metal, even the swimming pool crumpled and tossed aside like pieces of paper, can tell meteorologists whether it was straight line or tornadic winds that wreaked all this havoc. Why is it important to know if it was a tornado or straight line winds? The devastation's the same.
Ultimately, the importance of whether it's straight line or tornado is to help us at the Weather Service try to make sure our warnings are more accurate and early. But yeah, you're correct in that damage is damage regardless whether the wind is twisting or not.
And even in this house here, you can see some of the signs of the damage to see that it's more tornadic in nature. One of the things the meteorologist was pointing out is if the damage hits on all 4 sides of a building, that tends to mean that it has more of a tornadic element to it than if it was just on one side of the building. That would indicate more of a straight line wind scenario. Live in Bailey tonight, Dani Carlson, 24-Hour News 8. We don't mean to scare you with it, but this is what some of our West Michigan teachers and principals are going through to prepare for a worst-case scenario, to learn from our past when shootings like these were literally unthinkable. I was allowed into a unique training session at Penfield High School in Calhoun County, and our cameras captured very intense moments.
Hiding underneath their desks or in the back part of a choir room or a classroom.
Across Jefferson County today, the next step. Gathering to more.
If you were paying attention in April of 1999, this grainy surveillance video is trapped somewhere in your memory. 2 high school boys with guns hunting their classmates in the Columbine High School cafeteria.
I am a teacher at Columbine High School. There is a student here with a gun. He was shot out a window.
The panicked 911 calls show just how unprepared schools were for this kind of violence.
Everyone stay on the floor! Stay on the floor! Stay under the table! Okay, try and keep as many people down as we can.
Down on the ground, under desks, and under tables. It's the exact right thing to do for many emergencies, But more than 10 years post-Columbine, we now know it's the exact wrong thing to do if there's someone in a school hunting.
Peg, you come here for a minute. I forgot because, hey, you disciplined my student, my son at school. Yeah.
Thankfully, this scene isn't real. But what is very real is that an attacker can take his first victim just that quickly. We can show you because the Calhoun County Sheriff's Department granted us unprecedented access to its teacher training. The first drill we were part of exposed what can go so wrong.
Bad spot. Bad.
And just how easy.
Not a good spot. Very poor spot there, boy.
And how quick an attacker, if they get inside school grounds, can kill if all you do is run and hide.
Nope. I think I missed anybody in there. It's you again.
The first scenario highlighted the challenges with meeting the biggest goal, that goal to get all the kids inside the classroom and lock the door. But tough decisions might need to be made.
He's gonna kill me, let me in.
Take a school alarm. Would the alarm send kids running into the hallway? Or would it be better to ignore that alarm if you know a gunman is already in the building?
Let me in.
Or imagine this, a teacher and students are safe inside a class, but a kid comes knocking. Should the teacher open that door? Or would that expose the whole classroom to danger? Deputies didn't tell teachers the right answers. The point was to get them thinking about the unthinkable before it happens.
How many people in here were shot? Raise your hands.
11 lives lost in a span of just 2 minutes. That's likely quicker than any cops, the traditional first responders, could get to the scene.
I'm sorry that we have to talk about this, but we have to remember, this is not our fault. This is not my fault. These are some gentlemen who killed a lot of people in schools. That's their fault. This is why we have to talk about this.
And in that first drill, that was 11 out of the 18 people who were participating in the training who were killed in that 2-minute long drill. The goal is to stay alive for 10 minutes. Tonight at 11, we'll show you how deputies showed teachers to go on the offensive, fighting to stay alive, and the number killed in the next drills, they go down drastically. It was really the difference between waiting to die and fighting to live. This kind of training was tough to be a part of because you are forced to think about those life and death decisions. Tonight, we can show you what works and what you can do to stay alive for the up to 10 minutes it could take for police to arrive.
It's quick. It's terrifying. In this case, it's a drill, but one that represents an assault on one of the last places our kids are supposed to feel safe.
I'm so sorry I have to say this, but you have to say to yourself, what am I going to do if I get shot or cut? Who am I going to be? What am I going to do? Prepare for it.
Part of that preparation is practice. We were given unprecedented access to a teacher training session at Penfield High School. We learned we need to prepare to fight back, to be able to hold on for 10 minutes at most, because in 10 minutes, help is on the way.
I guarantee that we will be here for you and we will do everything we can to protect you. But I'm telling you right now, I'm sorry to say it, we are not the first responders, you are.
To survive for that 10 minutes, teachers need to not only turn classroom lights off and lock the doors, these first responders of necessity need to arm themselves with weapons of opportunity.
Inside this classroom, anybody have any ideas? What would you use as a weapon, sir? What would you use?
Grab a stapler, grab a stool.
Grab a stapler. Stool right there. We've got a stool. We've got a stapler. What do you have? What do you have? Fire extinguisher. Oh, fire extinguisher.
Stools and desks can become door locks and obstacles. That saves a minute right there. A stapler can become a missile, scissors a knife, buying another minute. Anything and everything is fair game when a potential killer is in your school.
It's the new tactical classroom. Is that crazy? The new we got to use the word tactical in school now?
But thinking tactically, using wiffle balls as those classroom projectiles, meant more lives were saved in our training session. The kill rate went from 11 of 18 to 1 wounded.
In the first scenario, you were waiting to die. And on the last one, she was refusing to die.
But can these teachers really do it? Can Shelley O'Dowd, the special ed teacher of 28 years, really defend her classroom?
And do you think you could stab someone with...
Oh, definitely, if I saw, oh, absolutely. I don't think, I just think it becomes an automatic. If you're protecting people and you have, a need, I think, yes, I could, for sure.
It's not what she or most of these teachers signed up for, but they now know it could be part of the job. Do you think your school is safer than other school districts that don't do something like this?
Oh, most definitely. Yeah, if you don't have a comfort level in how you're going to react to some type of a situation, you're asking for bad things to happen.
Now, I did speak to the Michigan Education Association, the state teachers union. They say that they are supportive of this kind of training being available as long as it doesn't mean that teachers become security guards on a regular basis. And legally, an expert that we spoke to says it's unlikely that teachers would get into any legal trouble. But there will be some errors with this new Affordable Health Care Act. One that we found could affect those of us here in West Michigan, especially if you want to get some one-on-one help from a real person.
You'll find the information clear and easy to understand.
It's so easy, a cartoon can do it. No assistance required.
You can compare prices.
But is it as easy for those of us who live in the real world? We went online to check it out for ourselves. To find help in your area, all you have to do is enter your zip code. We chose 49503 right here in Grand Rapids. It's supposed to connect you with the people who can help you through the process.
We'll be able to actually guide consumers through the process of making application if they require that assistance.
According to healthcare.gov, the closest in-person help to the state's second largest city, where nearly 200,000 people live, is nearly an hour away at the Baldwin Family Health Centers in the small town of Grant. Population less than 900.
When I said I wanted help in Grand Rapids for filling out the application, it said that you guys were actually the closest place I could get help.
Yeah. There will be glitches.
I mean, when you heard that, I mean, what's your initial reaction to hearing that?
I guess I'm not terribly surprised. I think that there's a registration process. It is startup. Wherever you're talking about in America, we're trying to start up this program. And so surely there will be glitches in the system.
And Target 8 definitely found some website glitches that sent people to the wrong address on North Street when it's really on Maple Street. Now, once you find the place, they do have 2 trained application counselors.
We can point to maybe resources, websites, resources for answering frequently asked questions. We can help people to understand what it is they need to bring into the process and to just kind of bring what seems like a large assignment down to a sizable, usable portion.
The counselors at Baldwin Family Health Centers say they cover the 4 counties of Lake Newaygo, Missaukee, and Wexford, but they're not set up to handle any more than that, especially not a city the size of Grand Rapids. And they don't need to. Target 8 found that right in the city of Grand Rapids is the Heart of the City Health Center, run by Cherry Street Health Services.
Over the phone we can say some things, but we want them to come in so we can help them sort through how they can navigate this and to help them get enrolled to see what they're eligible for.
They've been preparing for this for months, and they're actually a regional navigator, a place with more resources to help out more people in West Michigan. And they're in Grand Rapids, and in the same zip code we initially entered. We laid out the address glitches to Cherry Street reps.
And it actually said the city's name was Gant, not Grant.
All right.
It's because when we entered in for local help near me in Grand Rapids, it only popped up as the closest place we could get help would be in the Baldwin Family Health Centers, and it didn't say Cherry Street.
Oh, yeah. All right. Well, that's got to get corrected.
Target 8 got a federal government rep on the phone today. We were told that it's not really an error on the site, since the website, phone number, and email address are correct. It's just the physical address that's wrong. So we were told the government plans to keep updating the site through September 30th with additional places you can get help. September 30th is Monday.
Do you have any concern that people might not realize that there are resources available closer?
Yeah, that is concerning, and we're going to have to address it. So it's helpful that when people are experiencing problems, they feel free to call the 800 number and say, hey, did you know? So that we can be responsive to make sure that we and other points are available for them.
So the insurance marketplace doesn't open until Tuesday, but there are some things you should get together before you start looking on the exchange. Things like your W-2, policy numbers if you already have insurance, and make sure you know your Social Security number.